join me inside the cabin of the 2020 Maserati Levante Trofeo, the hottest of the hot Maserati SUVs. But is it hot enough to compete in this premium performance SUV segment, of which there are so many vehicles right now? I've driven a number of them lately, including the BMW X5M Competition, the Mercedes-AMG GLE 63S, on the high end, the Bentley Bentayga Speed, on the low end, the Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk. So many cars, and Maserati is asking $150,000 for this one. Can they reasonably charge that and have people want to buy it? That's what we're going to find out today on Miles Per Hour. And there it is, the 2020 Maserati Levante Trofeo, painted in Rosso Italiano, translated Italian red, is a deeper, more sumptuous red than something like a fire engine. And even though we don't have direct sunlight on it, it's a cloudier day, it's still a spectacular color. Really like this paint color. And before I get too deep into the exterior, interior, and driving for the Levante Trofeo, a couple quick announcements for you. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, do so. Get yourself that daily bit of content, bit of automotive content. We've got POV day drives, POV night drives, walk-arounds, live Q&As, and reviews just like this one. So hit the bell to get notified. And if you want to watch any of the videos I just mentioned for this car, you're welcome to do so. Or just, hang tight for a few minutes while I get through this. Then go watch them. And if you like the channel, you want to support what I'm doing here, you're the best. Gosh, I love you. You're so good. A couple different ways you can do that. I've got a Patreon account with different tier levels, with different perks for you. And then I've got merchandise, like the Miles Per Hour t-shirt that I'm wearing. You like this shirt. I know you do. You saw it in the intro. You're like, hey, I want one of those. Well, go get yourself one. What are you doing? And with all that out of the way, let's dive back into the Maserati Levante Trofeo. And starting up here at the front, this is a handsome, yes, I'm saying handsome, it's a handsome nose with the real slimline LED headlights. They're adaptive headlights. Again, standard. And like much of this car, for the $152,000, yes, it's a lot of money, but you aren't having a nickel and dime with all the other extras. There's only one option on this car. I will point it out in the interior. It's the trim. Everything else on the car is standard. So we've got LED daytime running lights, LED headlights, LED turn signals. Down here, LED fog lights. And then the couple different callouts that tell you this is the Trofeo, this is the top of the line Levante, are going to be the carbon fiber accents you're going to see. So for this ventilation on the side, got carbon fiber trim here, and then the chin splitter is decked out in carbon fiber, high gloss, looks good. Black grille here with the big trident, front and center, not even as big as, say, Mercedes-AMG's latest vehicles, but good size. And then duplicated up above that is a more formal, higher quality looking Maserati badge. Love that. Like the design of the grille, like the kind of shark nose. That's all good stuff. Front view camera just above that, but hidden pretty well. Moving to the side. I think this is possibly the best looking vehicle in this segment because it's not overdone. The rivals, the X5M, the GLE AMG, are just muscled up. And while that is a cool look in it of itself, this is just effortlessly pretty. And I'm more attracted to the effortlessly pretty design that Maserati has going on here. Just going to throw that out there. Big 22-inch wheels. Again, standard. Wrapped in Continental Sport Contact tires. 265 front, and 295 rear. Had to look for it. You can also note the yellow painted brake calipers. On this one, you can choose your brake caliper color. Ventilated rotors, 15-inch front, 13-inch rear. Almost fell over right there. Squat carefully, my friends. 3 ports on the side. That's a signature trait of Maserati vehicles. I would say the wheels are the biggest call out that this is the Trofeo. Trofeo. Because there aren't really Trofeo badges all over the car. There's 2 badges. There are 2 badges. And they're right here. They look like the standard Maserati Trident that we have on the C-pillar of their cars, but they have Trofeo on them. So one on this side, one on that side. Those are the only Trofeo badges on the whole car. So really, the most identifiable thing you're going to see about this car that you'll know it's Trofeo are those huge 22-inch wheels, which I think are very handsome. Yeah, I said it. I think they're really good-looking wheels. And this car does have an air suspension system, so note that this isn't its kind of stock ride height. It can get higher, it can get lower, Corsa lower, off-road higher. Down here we have more carbon fiber for this side sill. Body color matching door mirrors. Chrome trim surround for the windows. Normally I'm not a huge chrome fan, but it kind of works here. Wouldn't be awful if it was all blacked out, but hey, it's not. That's what we got. Panoramic sunroof. You can see it's okay size. It's not the biggest pano sunroof you're ever going to see. The spoiler coming off the roof is of modest size, not a giant spoiler, and it does have some gaps in here to channel the air under it. Let's look back at that profile for a sec. It's a very good look. Nice big haunches. It looks menacing, but also just, like I said, effortlessly pretty. It's a good looking SUV. The wheels really help. They really do. Rear 3/4, also good looking. Hard to tell. We've got LED taillight surrounds with turn signals in there. Carbon fiber cover for the diffuser. Yet another Trofeo feature. And blacked out quad exhaust ports. You can see that they are genuine exhausts with mesh surrounds on either side, with body color piece for the upper bumper and lower bumper. Not a lot of big diffusing going on here. There's some, but it's not a big diffuser like on some of these cars. Maserati badge across the tailgate. Chrome strip below that connecting the LED taillights. But you know what? It's not the giant chrome strip that you see on so many of these vehicles these days. And again, no Trofeo badge even on the tailgate. Just Levante. So you got to know what you're looking for. Back end. Sleek, elegant. Much like the whole exterior of the car. Big fan of the car. Design language. Going back to that front angle one more time before we kick it off into the interior. And there we go. Let's see what the interior looks like. Is it as good as the exterior? On our way inside, we can note the smart key access. So you press this button. It is a physical button, not just an indent. Press the button with the key in your pocket to lock or unlock the doors, which permits you to a very leather-rich cabin. Leather all over the place. And I did mention there's only one option in this car, and it is the trim. They call this 3D carbon fiber trim, and I think they call it that because there is some texture to it. It's not just a high gloss panel that would just feel slick. This, you can feel the fiber weave, which I think looks, and I'm a tactile person, so I really appreciate that. You can note the red contrast stitching in the door inserts. Squishy, nice feeling leather all over the armrest, the door insert itself, and even this piece right here that would normally be a harder plastic or textured, that's covered in leather as well. You've got this metal bar accenting the handle, and unfortunately we see some bits of Fiat Chrysler automobile part sharing, like this very cheap plastic panel with very cheap window switches, albeit with some slightly reflective bits at the end. That doesn't exactly gussy it up enough. You do have power folding mirrors and a 14-speaker Bowers & Wilkins sound system. Really nice audio system. Leather all over the door panel, even down here at the bottom, where on lesser cars this would be textured plastic. That's all covered in leather. Couple memory seat options. This feels like real aluminum for the door handle. The seats themselves are multi-way power adjusting with lumbar control. No massaging functionality, but you do have heating and ventilation for the front two passengers. And I really like the designs of the natural leather, the perforation, this stitching, and then the Trofeo badge stitched into the headrests in red with the contrast red stitching surround and along the borders. Very handsome. Maserati kick plates here that are illuminated at night. Red contrast stitching on the floor mats. Trofeo embedded in there. And then aluminum panels for the dead pedal, the brake, and the accelerator. Gussies it up quite a bit. And more part sharing with FCA vehicles for this start-stop button. That does look and feel pretty cheap. Hey, it's different. It's on the left-hand side of the driver. That's neat. And then we have your light controls over there. More leather up on the dashboard here with that red contrast stitching. Again, just upgrading the look and feel of the cabin. And then let's hop inside. Can you show you the soft closed doors in action? I closed it too hard. Okay. There we go. So now looking at the steering wheel here, pretty good looking wheel. Good thickness, nice spots for your hands at 9 and 3, perforation at those places. And then a 2 leather kind of overlap here at the bottom. This metal bar accenting the trident right front and center, along with not a plastic but a full leather panel covering the airbag. Off to the right you have some controls. You know what? I'm going to fire on the car. I already looked right. It's off to the left. Because it's a very humid day and I want to get that AC going. I'm also going to ventilate my seat while I'm at that. Okay. So looking off to the left, we have your adaptive cruise and lane keep assist functions. And then we can also note these really high quality, good size paddles made of aluminum that are column mounted, so they stay in place instead of being mounted on the steering wheel. So, you know, there are pros and cons to each design. Steering wheel design, they're always going to be where your hands are turning, but column design, they look more high quality, and if they're good size, then there's always going to be a place to grab the paddle as you're turning your hands on the wheel. More Fiat Chrysler part sharing with these cheapy stocks for the turn signals and wipers. And we're also noting that it's, you know, here is where the technology is really behind some of the competitors, some of the German rivals. We don't have a fully digital gauge cluster. We have 2 analog gauges, a speedo on the left, tach on the right, and they're not really remarkable in any way. There is some 3D effect here with the housing for the gauges coming out, but the gauges themselves are just sort of ho-hum. In the middle there, more FCA sharing. We just have the same TFT display as you get in maybe a Dodge Charger, and there isn't much functionality to that. You can go through the different drive modes, vehicle info, tire pressure, speed, range, messages, audio, trip data, and driver assistance features. So there's not a whole lot there, and it doesn't look captivating in any way. So that's a bit of a letdown in terms of technology. And the other bit of technology that's kind of a couple generations behind now as it relates to the competition is this Uconnect system, which again is shared with a vehicle like a Dodge Charger. It's an 8.4-inch display. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is good, and it has a Wi-Fi hotspot. So that's all kind of on par. It is a plug-in wireless CarPlay. Sorry, not wireless. It is a plug-in CarPlay and Android Auto, so none of that wireless stuff that we have in some other vehicles. And the graphics are not that great. I'll turn down the air so that's not blaring on me, or just press it away. So the graphics aren't that great. You do get some glare, and it just, you know, it's pretty quick because they've got an updated version of Uconnect in here, but there's not much engaging to it. It doesn't have smartphone functionality either. Like modern systems, you're able to swipe them and they go left and right. This one you can't. You have to touch the arrows, which just feels outdated. Navigation system, again, the graphics aren't that great. It moves pretty quick, which, I don't know, some people prefer speed over cool graphics. I would like to see both, and many systems these days do have both. So this feels behind the curve, I would say. You do have, as I said, heated seats and ventilated seats. You have a heated steering wheel in this car as well. And you do have a 360 surround view camera system. That's a neat feature. I like getting that on luxury vehicles, so you know you're not going to scrape something in the parking lot or along a curb. A couple different angles here, but you can see like the graphics are just their last generation. They really need to upgrade this to stay competitive. But you do have that functionality. And let's go back. What else we have going on here? Climate control, Sirius XM radio, and one other thing that bothers me about this system is the parking sensors. It does have them, but even in their lowest setting of volume, they are so ridiculously loud that they hurt my ears. And day or night, doesn't matter if, you know, I've been awake long enough, my ears have adjusted to noise. It is just so loud that I just default turn them off. And that's not what you want. You want parking sensors that you can keep on and just lower the volume. These, even in their lowest setting, they're so loud. So that's the rant over about the technology not necessarily being up there with the rivals. I do like this oval analog clock here. Really cool design to it. The Trident front and center and these meterings on the outside. Second on the small readout there. More of the leather on the dashboard. And we get down here, we've got some redundancies for the climate control. You can either control them in here or down here. Got a storage cubby here. You can see more of that 3D carbon fiber weave. Looking and feeling very nice. This is a bit cheapy. Very much plastic piece right there. Yeah. This I cannot figure out. I had to break right there because I thought I was doing something wrong, but no, this thing just actually is pretty annoying, and I'm pretty sure it's going to break very soon. That's not the best in terms of material quality. USB port for charging, SD card for charging, aux port for plugging in a different device there. That's kind of bridging the gap between old and new there, having an aux port. It's interesting. So moving along the side here, we do have your drive modes. We've got your traction control system on and off, your off-road mode, raising the air suspension significantly so you can make it over obstacles. Hopefully you don't scrape those 22-inch wheels. Increased control and efficiency mode. It's just the efficiency mode. Sport and Corsa, press once for Sport, hold for Corsa. Corsa will lower the car. Sport suspension, you can just adjust the suspension independently by pressing that button. We've got a nicer gear selector here wrapped in leather with stitching along the side, a metal border here, metal trim accenting the piano black insert for reverse, drive, manual mode, and park. And the Maserati Trident down below. Another nice touch, parking brake. This is how you can independently control the suspension, raise or lower. Hazards, and then this layered cake of an infotainment control. So this is for the volume. and this one controls the settings on your infotainment. I like that you actually have a physical controller. This is just sort of a unique configuration. Cup holders off to the right beneath the carbon fiber trim cover. And again, there's scratchy plastics, and I'm just worried about how these things are going to hold up over time because they just don't feel that well made. You have your Maserati key, which is a hefty sucker. This is a really high quality feeling key in contrast to some of the interior trim. This is a hefty duty key, and you've got the Trident right there. Some scratchier plastic in the insert, but nice metal borders, feeling good. This is where you pull out the key if the car has a malfunction. Press twice for the trunk, lock, unlock, and remote start. So you press that twice and the car will start after it's locked. Cigarette lighter, interesting. Moving on back, we've got a pretty deep center cubby here. For these vehicles, performance SUVs in this, compact to mid-size category, this is a good size center console, and it's got a cooled panel. So you press this on and this will start to chill. It'll funnel the air conditioning in there and keep your beverages nice and cool. And again, so deep, and you know what? I have a feeling that my large water bottle will fit in here. And here we go, the large water bottle for the large water bottle test. Is it going to fit? Well, it doesn't fit in these defined cup holders, but at an angle, it most certainly fits. So you have pretty quick access to it. Let's see where else this bottom might go in this car. Let's try the door pocket. A little close, but no cigar. That's a no on the door pocket. These cup holders here, I have a feeling it's going to be no. No. Italians like their espresso, not their large water bottles, clearly. And last but not least, last but definitely least, the glove box. Yeah, doesn't fit in the glove box. All right, so there is one spot to put your large water bottle in the Maserati Levante Trofeo, and it's in here. So it's a pass. It is a pass, but barely. Stick you over there for now. You can see more of this 3D carbon fiber trim over on the passenger side with a brushed metal piece underlining that. Showed you the glove box briefly. There is a spot here for your sunglasses. Ooh, and that booklet. That is a nice looking booklet for your user manual. And you'll also note 2 additional charge ports, USB. So that makes, we got 1 there, 2 there. Do we have any in here? No, I don't believe so. So we've got 3 up front, all USB, not USB-Cs. And looking back, can spot this panoramic sunroof that is standard on the car. Very nice. Also standard is this Alcantara headliner. Looks and feels superb. How are the sun visors? You got a nice slot here for papers. LED light in there. Good sliding range. Yeah, that's got good coverage. That's solid. Let's see how far the panoramic sunroof will open. Well, it moves pretty quickly. Okay, that's spot 1. Spot 2. All right, so it doesn't go back that far, but it does move quick. And I'm wondering if the sun visor moves equally as fast, it will also tilt up. Oh yeah, that's hustling. That is hustling. And you'll note that it does fully black it out. Some of these sun visors will they'll still allow some light in. That one fully covers it, blacks it out. All right, let's move on to those rear seats and see what we're working with there. Coming to these back seats, we see that we've got smart access here. So again, you can press the button to lock or unlock, even from the back doors. Now, opening the door, swinging it wide, you can see that we've got a good size opening here, so you shouldn't have to twist your body to get access to the rear seats. That's something that I've encountered on some of the vehicles in this segment, and it's annoying. This one, not so much. We also have power sunshades, which is a nice touch. You can control those by this switch here. or via the Uconnect system up there. They raise and lower pretty quickly. And then, like the front, we've got that 3D carbon fiber trim and leather all over the place. So the red contrast stitching, the nice feeling leather, amplifies the luxury experience, except for, again, the window switches. Scratchy, hard plastic. Another FCA parts bin option is this, or actually it's not an option, it's a standard feature, but a parts bin set is these heated seats. So the switches, you've got 2 settings, but it's an odd placement for the switch. You would imagine a water bottle or whatever you put in this cubby back here might touch that and accidentally turn on your heated seats, and they don't feel high quality. We do have the Bowers & Wilkins speaker covers back here, and again, leather all over the place. The illuminated door sills, just like the front. And then this I really wanted to point out because it's a nice touch. Leather on the seat backs. Some of these cars, they go leather, and then this, getting to this line, like right here, the rest of it turns into hard plastic. Not this car. It has leather on the back. You've got netting, but if your knees touch up against this, then they're not going to feel uncomfortable. The rear seats, like the front, have the Trofeo badge stitched into the headrest with the red contrast stitching around. You've got the nice accented stitching throughout the center. Looking and feeling good. And I'm going to hop in and see if my knees touch. And no, they don't. So that's my driving position at 6 feet tall. And this is how much knee room I have. Good amount, a few inches. And the foot pockets are deep, such that my legs can actually slide under and decrease my knee angle. Always a plus. In terms of charging access back here, we've got 2 USB ports and a DC socket. Got 2 air vents. Nothing down here, but more of that leather. Good look and feel. And let's see what the headroom looks like. So, my head is very close to the roof, but it's not touching. And you do have a few different angles for the seat backs here. Adjustable via lever. You've got a more upright, somewhere in the middle, and then this one that I'm in is the most reclined. The most reclined. So I'm the most comfortable back here. But I wouldn't say there is tremendous amounts of room. It is something in the compact to mid-size segment. But it does feel premium back here. The feel of the leather? Holy cow. The feel of the leather is good. Very good. Now let's go to the trunk, but on our way back, I'll note that one downside to these seats are that you cannot fold them anywhere in the back. There's no power control, there's no manual control. You have to come to the side and pull this lever, which, like some other pieces in this car, does not feel high quality. And then the seats will come forward and you can lock them into place. I am choosing not to lock them into place because between you and me, the last time I did that, the seats did not want to budge. I had to spend like 5 minutes jimmying it until it would release. Whereas that one, no issues. So you make of that what you will. Do note that I have some nice, softer feeling material on the sides here. That's cool. But when these seats are locked in place, you've got a flat platform back here for you to slide stuff in from the side. And then when you go to the trunk, note that there is a hands-free opening of the tailgate. So if you have the key in your pocket, like I do, if the car is off, car has to be off, car has to be unlocked. Actually, I'm going to make sure that it has to be off, because this is where you'd be kicking it normally. Yeah, car's got to be off. Okay, car is off, then the tailgate will open from that centerpiece right there. Otherwise, you press the button right under that Maserati sill, and you get to look at the trunk space. The tailgate opens nice and high, so my head's not going to hit that. No issue there. And then we have some cargo latches here that adjust in different positions. This is another standard feature. So if you really need to tie down your cargo, you can. And then under the floor, it's not like some of these cars with a nice big cavity. Instead, you have some shallow pockets. And I believe that a trickle charger can be plugged in through the port right there. And the backpack for reference, but you can see that we don't have any controls to lower the seats from back here. I will go lower this one manually. so you can see what the flatter floor would look like. That one does it right. So that's what it would look like if it was all the way flat across, but again, I'm not getting the mess I was just in of having to mess with that seat. I will list the cargo capacity here. I just know off the top of my head that it is not as much as the X5 and GLE. It's a good sized space, not as much cargo as the GLE and X5. And like the sides of the seat, I was feeling here, this nice carpeted material. Looks and feels good. It's not Alcantara, but it's pretty nice. And that is the versatility of the Levante Trofeo. That is the more upright seat back position. Pull the lever again. And that's the fully reclined position. To close the tailgate, press this button here, and if you press that one, then it will close and lock the car, assuming the car is off. But it gives you a nice warning. And soft close. Forget that. Forget it. Forget it. We're gonna go drive the car. Gonna go drive this car. But first, we're gonna rev it. Sport. Okay. Yeah. Tell me more. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good story. This vehicle is fun. It is really fun. This transmission is sensational. It's a really good 8-speed. And not just that, it's enjoyable to pull the paddles. These real metal paddles are fun to pull. There's a good amount of travel with each paddle. Makes you want to leave it in manual, even though you know that this 8-speed is good enough that left to its own devices in automatic mode, it's going to pretty much do what you want it to do. Still, you put it in manual, and you have fun. Ooh boy, and this engine, 3.8 liter twin-turbo V8 sourced from Ferrari, making 590 horsepower, 538 pound-feet of torque, connected to this 8-speed automatic gearbox, and all 4 wheels means that you get to 60 in 3.6 seconds and onto a top speed of 187 miles an hour. Bonkers. But it's not even that that's the best part. It's the torque vectoring system, the limited slip differential, and most importantly, how they dialed this electronic steering rack. They did such a good job. It is so communicative. For an electronic rack, this is really like revolutionary stuff in terms of fitting this for an SUV, having it feel as engaging, and to really tell you what the tires are doing. All the competing SUVs that I've driven, they make it work with the steering. Like, you kind of have an idea what the tires are doing. You know you're not going to end up in trouble, but the steering on those cars doesn't compare with this in how it's really bringing you into the experience. Feel like those SUVs, the Germans specifically, the X5M Comp and the GLE 63S, are like heavyweight fighters. And this Levante, somehow they like get it done with the blows, and they move around and they get it done. But this one is like a welterweight. It's light on its toes. The punches are quick, but there's still power behind those blows. It's not lightweight. And that's kind of what I feel from behind the driver's seat. I have a lot of fun pivoting this car and making it do things that an SUV really shouldn't, but it doesn't anyway. And now we're at a stoplight, and it'll be a good time to talk about launch control, and that's how you do that 3.6 seconds sprint to 60. So I want to go into Corsa mode. I hold down the sport button a couple seconds, go into Corsa mode. It's going to lower the car, and then when the light does go green, it'll take a couple seconds here. I'll be able to push my foot hard on the brake and then pin the throttle I'll then let the car get up to just about 3,000 RPM, let go of the brake, and the car will go. So just under 3,000 RPM, bit of a delay, but then you're off to the races. Holy cow. Oh yeah, that's unstoppable. That's pretty good. That I'm going to want to do a few more times. Oh good, another red light. I will get a chance to do it. Yeah, the straight line speed is pretty darn good in this vehicle. And like I said, that exhaust note, you get more of the turbo than I would like. I want the guttural V8. I don't get as much of that as I would prefer, but it's still there. And just the volume is also pretty darn good. I find that sometimes the turbos really just mute all of the exhaust note. I don't get that in this car. They've done a good job tuning the exhaust note such that I hear what's going on. And again, it brings me in. Okay. More launch control. And I like that it's not like a 10-step process. It's Corsa mode, put your foot on the brake, put your foot on the throttle, and go. That's fun. That's fun. That's what this car is about. This car is about a low barrier to bringing you into a good time. Oh, and I just can't, I know I'm going in a straight line right now, but I've had some time to really take this on corners, and I just can't get over how good this steering is for an SUV. Performance SUVs really just don't get that recipe right the first time. You have to really mess with the settings, and even then, it's not fully baked. It's not fully bringing you in. Maserati did it right with this one. I'm not super surprised because the sibling to this vehicle, the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio, that one does it the best I've ever experienced in terms of an SUV. This is very close to that. It's not quite as good, but it's very close. But the general theme when you're driving this car is to have a good time. And that's what I want out of my SUV. But when you're done having a good time and you kind of need to get to work and you don't want to punish yourself, even in Corsa mode, this adaptive air suspension is not punishing at all. Let's go over this section of bumps right here. I'm in sport mode. Not even in normal, and that was not bad at all. I could tell I went over bumps, but I was not punished in the slightest, and that's kind of the theme. It's very Grand Touring-esque in terms of the ride quality over distances. I really feel like this would be an excellent commuter vehicle, and that's all there is to say about that. You do have active safety systems as standard, adaptive cruise control, automatic lane keeping assist systems, and they're close to as good as rivals. They're not quite as good. Mercedes-Benz's system, for example, is just so dialed in. BMW, same way. This one, they want you to engage with the steering wheel way too often. You can't keep your hands off for more than a second before it goes yellow and then red, and then it wants you to engage. It'll beep at you and all that. But it does keep it within the lane pretty well, and the adaptive cruise control system works fairly well. So you do have all those safety systems, the comforts, the conveniences, the heated seats, the ventilated seats, no massaging function. But, it pretty much checks all the boxes for me. It comes down to the issue of build quality that I discussed with the interior walk around. The exterior, I love how the car looks. I really do. It looks awesome. So good, so elegant, and yes, I'll say it, handsome. But the interior fit and finish makes me wonder how it's going to hold up. You want to be the first owner of this vehicle, maybe the second owner. Third owner? I don't know. But let's talk about those competitors a bit more in detail. So if we're talking about the Germans, we've got three to worry about. We've got the X5M competition from BMW, and that one starts around $115,000. Had to. 617 horsepower, so more than this. 0 to 60, right about the same, 3.6, 3.7. And top speed is going to be less, 177. Then you have the Mercedes-AMG GLE 63S that I mentioned, 116,000 to start, 603 horsepower, so again, a little more than this. 0 to 60, right around the same, 3.8, 3.7. Top speed, 174, so less than this. Both of those vehicles, though, get better fuel economy than this. Fuel economy in this is awful. I've gone through gas really, really quickly. It's 14 city, 18 highway, 15 combined. 15 combined. You're going to go through a lot of gas. Then if you want to spend more than the $151,000 that this car is costing to start, that made sense, right? Then you can buy the Porsche Cayenne Turbo SE Hybrid with a set of twisties. Let's just pause this for a sec. Yeah, just really good turn in. The brakes leave a bit to be desired, I'll be honest. The initial bite is not quite there. It's not confidence inspiring when you go to the braking, when you go to the brakes to a hard stop. You know that it's going to stop you, and indeed, if you get further into the pedal after the initial squishiness, it does stop you. The braking power is there, but the initial bite, not what I wanted. Back to the Cayenne Turbo SE Hybrid, that makes 670 horsepower, but starts at $163,000. So higher price, more power. 0 to 60 is actually slower than this. It's right around the same. I lied. Top speed is lower than this, 180 miles an hour. So it's not losing anything in terms of performance details to all those rivals. It is priced in a weird territory though, because it's more expensive than the BMW and the AMG, less expensive than the top Cayenne Turbo SE Hybrid, more expensive than the regular turbo, but less expensive though, getting closer to the Bentley Bentayga Speed in the 240s and the Lamborghini Urus around the same price territory. So it's this odd no man's land that it competes in, and that's probably why Maserati lowered the price compared to 2019 from $170,000 to this $151,000 now, just to get more in the mix. And I think that was the right decision. I think now it's much more competitive. If you want to spend a whole lot less and still get an FCA parts, although hidden much less well than this Maserati, you can get the Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk with 707 horsepower, 0 to 60 is faster than that in that one. But you know, I'm really pleased with this vehicle, and I didn't think I was going to be that pleased with it. I've expressed my issues with build quality and the fact that certain FCA parts are just blatantly out there, and you wonder how it's going to hold up in the second, third owner territory. But if you're the first owner of this vehicle, you're going to have a ball, an absolute ball. This Levante Trofeo is so good. It's so engaging. It's so fun to drive. And really, in the performance SUV category, that's kind of what's been difficult to nail down. The X5M competition, I'm going to say, is closest in terms of fun to drive, but this one really, it's exciting. It keeps you on your toes, and the SUV is on its toes. So well done, Maserati, with this one, apart from those build quality questions. And I'm going to end with a bit of acceleration. Oh yeah, and a few more pulls of these paddles.